What's up, everybody? John Hoover, Sooners on SI, along with Ryan Chapman. Wow, Oklahoma got it all fixed. Everything is taken care of. No more worries for the Oklahoma Sooners. Why is that? 59-14. You know, they kind of took care of business today. FCS opponent, Maine Black Bears come to town. They just kind of took care of business.
Well, they did what they needed to do, which was not always a given when you talk about just the first drive each way, right? Oklahoma, you know, Mike Tarquin, he had a sprained ankle, so it was Spencer Brown stepping in. Offensive line, it looked like, I don't know, full-blown miscommunication, but looked rocky on the first drive. Bluebirds come out, Maine comes down, has a great drive, scores a touchdown at 7-0. Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. They got it all fixed. Brent Venables will talk about his take on the defense, all that stuff. But Javonte Barnes, the man of the hour, 224 yards. Or no, sorry, that was the passing yardage. 203 yards. I was like, hold on. He had some 203 yards on 18 carries, 3 scores for Javonte Barnes. He had another reception of 19 yards. Jackson Arnold then, he threw for 224 on 15 to 21 passing. He was comfortable there. J.J. Hester housed a 90-yarder. That got Oklahoma over. So you got your first 100-yard rusher, who was actually a 200-yard rusher today, your first 100-yard receiver, who was a 100-yard receiver today, and you got all the freshmen in. It was everything you wanted out of an FCS game.
It was exactly what they needed. I asked Brent Venables to put it into context. He said it's kind of the next game. He didn't really go on gushing about what's going on with fixing the offensive line, although they seem to do some fixing by getting some young guys in there. 3 true freshmen played today. 2 started. Oh, 1 started. 1 was in a backup role.
Well, of the true
right?
freshmen, no.
They were all 3 backups.
Akinkumi, and you got Eddie Pierre-Louis, and then Isaiah Atrite. All 3 of those guys finished the game.
Yes.
You had 2 redshirt freshmen who started on the left side of the line, Logan Howland and Heath Ozida, who finished the Ole Miss game.
And Spencer Brown came in for is that his first start of the season?
Yes.
Yeah, so he got his first start of the season, played pretty well. Here's the deal. Maine's not any good. We know that. We knew that coming in. 63 scholarships, FCS, Division I AA, whatever you want to call it. Maine's not that good. Oklahoma's got a lot of work to do. Why? Because they play at Missouri next week. At old Big 8/Big 6/Big 12 foe, Missouri. There's a lot of history there. Oklahoma doesn't like being on the underdog in that game. Oklahoma has dominated that series. And so OU's going to go to Missouri next week with a little bit of an edge. Now that we've set that up, and after that comes the bye week, and then comes the Alabama game, and then comes the LSU game in Baton Rouge. So now that we've set that up, let's go back to today's game.
Yeah.
Javonte Barnes was really good. I don't care who he was playing. He was fantastic. 203 yards, ran with authority, ran with speed, ran away from guys, made them miss him. It was fantastic.
Look, this team, Maine, a lot worse than Temple. But coming out of that Temple game, it was like, okay, congrats, you scored 51 points, a lot of short fields, no one's moving anybody. Just go back and watch Javonte Barnes' 74-yard, almost touchdown. It was called a touchdown, brought back. It was a great setup. I think Bauer Sharp was involved in that as well. Javonte Barnes had a massive running lane. It was decisive from him. Absolutely powered through and nearly outran everybody. And then he had another big-time run in the north end zone that was almost a touchdown run, or was a touchdown run, that was the exact opposite. Instead of being decisive, he was patient, let the block set up. Then he busted through to the second level. We haven't seen that against anybody at any point all year long. Javonte Barnes had a bunch of those, so that was huge. And part of today was always about, we all know this, you guys watch know this, Maine stinks. It's not an actual opponent, but it's about taking what they found in the first half against Ole Miss, trying to find any sort of confidence for a really, really young, inexperienced offense, because they're going to run into a much better defense next week with Missouri, certainly Alabama, certainly LSU. They can't be triple or just second-guessing, triple-guessing themselves, stuff like that. That's stuff that Brent Venables has talked about. They got to play with confidence. That's how you get aggressive, how you get physical. That's what we saw from the entire offensive line after that first drive today, is they knew what they were doing, which allowed them to just fire off the football and dominate people that they're better than.
Yeah, great job by J.J. Hester breaking free on the 90-yard touchdown as well that you mentioned. He was over 100 yards, but on that one, it was just a 6-yard curl. He turns around. He's like, here I am. He sees Jackson Arnold scrambling for his life in the end zone, running this way. He turns around, just wheels, turns, scramble drill, over the top, wide open, bobbled the catch, but then, as Brent Venables said, he showed his long speed and went 90 yards. That's their first 90-yard pass play since 1995.
Against
Eric
Iowa
Moore to
State.
P.J. Mills against Iowa State, and that's their first 70-yard run. What did we say? In the 70s.
Since 2021, I think.
Since 2021 against Iowa State as well. Caleb Williams, that's right. So This 665 yards of total offense. Again, it's Maine. We know. We get it. But 665 yards total offense was the most by the Oklahoma offense since that game, that crazy, crazy overtime game at Texas Tech in 2022. Y'all remember that one? Yeah, it didn't end well for the Sooners. This one did. Shall we talk about the defense and Brent Venables' frustration level? He said it was the most frustrated he's been at the defense all year. I'm like, what?
251 total yards, right? That's what it ended up being. In the first half, though, it was the
first 0.
It was the first possession. Maine goes straight down the field, 68 yards. Whether it be the fact that they're in 4th and 1, the coaching staff doesn't get the play call in, so Kip Lewis is clapping. He's upset at the sideline. That got called for a delay of game, a defensive delay of game. The Maine then converted a 3rd and 7. Then there was a big touchdown run, or a big run that set up the touchdown. They only got 47 yards the rest of the first half, but 68 yards on that first drive. And I got the vibe from Brent Venables that if you've watched even his press conference stuff, John Hoover Media, the YouTube channel, OklahomaSoonersOnSI.com, the website, anytime you get into a game like this, Brent Venables preaches, you have to prepare like it's a nameless, faceless opponent. Basically, like, don't just take it easy against your opponent. It sounded like Brent Venables was like, it wasn't everybody, but there are a lot of guys out there that stepped out and said it's an 11 a.m. kickoff because of the time change and the weather. It wasn't full. It's Maine. We're just going to go through the motions. They went through the motions. Maine didn't. Maine scores. It sounds like that was a lot of the frustration for Brent Venables was the approach from that defense, especially on the first drive.
Yeah, this was a weird day from the very beginning. You play an FCS school. That's part of it. You know you're 4-4, so you know the crowd's not going to turn out like you wanted to. They announced the crowd. They announced the actual attendance at 84,000. We know it wasn't anywhere close. That was a lot closer to 50,000, which is probably the lowest I've seen here for a game since like a spring game.
This attendance reminded me of the Tulane reschedule, where there were more people here for that Tulane game, but that was a 3-day notice situation. This was
the hurricane.
Yeah, this was an under 24-hour notice. So it's one of those things where I'm certainly not going to. They were 4-4 coming into this. It's cupcake week. The weather looks like it's spitting on us right now, which is why we paused a couple of times because my brain is like, is that rain? And it's a kickoff change. Like all of those factors, I think everybody gets a pass across the board.
Ryan said he's not going to judge the people that were not here. He's going to judge the people that were here for showing up for this thing. Anyway, we move on to we can move on, right? Nothing's happening.
We're turning the page.
Turnovers, a couple of takeaways. One was wiped out by a penalty in the end zone.
Robert Spears-Jennings, 4 forced fumbles on the year. I believe that leads the SEC. Now, obviously, a lot of those SEC games are playing right now as we speak, but shout out to RSJ. So
we're going to hit the road next week at Missouri. Do we have a kickoff time for that one yet? There's still a window, isn't it?
It's the late window. Is it the 6:45 or 7:30?
I think that's right.
I don't remember. You're the one that did the kickoff time story.
I did this week.
You did the kickoff time story this week.
It's a window.
It's a night kick. Yeah. Night kick in Columbia. What could go wrong? Is 2011 the last 2010 in the last night kick? Don't let them score on the kickoff. Start there.
That's one thing. Don't throw a pick six. Don't get stripped for a scoop and score, whatever that was. Back to SEC play next week and then a week off. What do you think they learned from tonight? What do you think they take away from tonight for the last 3 games?
I think the biggest, it's twofold. Again, it's the confidence. It's the finding a way to have a simple game plan but execute the simple stuff, and that's something that J.J. Hester talked about. I asked him, when the offense basically has stunk through half the year, you get a coach fired, how do you rebuild that confidence? That's been a through line of every time we've spoken to Joe John Finley. He talks about we just have to master all these little things, and that's how you get the big stuff. So I think there's that. And the second thing is I did really like the physicality that Eddie Pierre-Louis and Isaiah Autry-Din and Dylan Akinkunmi all brought in. So I don't think that means that suddenly Eddie Pierre-Louis is going to be battling for Bechiwiwu for the right guard spot because EPL didn't come in until the second half. But I think that's something that they feel a little bit more confident that they're injury-prone galore along the offensive line right now. If the Bechiwiwu has a chin strap pop off in Missouri and it takes a whole drive to fix it, I think they'll be fine putting Eddie Pierre-Louis, like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. The 3-game losing streak is over, and for the second week in a row, we saw lots, I think, of improvement. We're pretty sure about that. Maybe you show a little bit more next week when you go to Missouri. We'll see how that shakes out. Sooners are now 5-4 on the season. Need that one more win in these last 3 games to get to a bowl game. We'll see how that shakes out.
Send us to Vegas or Birmingham, I guess.
Oh, gosh.
Let's go Vegas.
I know which one I'm picking.
Christmas in Vegas.
Christmas in Vegas sounds wonderful. Listen, you got all our post-game coverage at Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. That's where you're going to find his contributions during the game, the live blog, post-game stuff. We're going to have player interviews, coach interviews, coordinator interviews. All that stuff is posted at Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. Also, check out my YouTube channel, John Hoover Media. Those videos are already up. Some of them are, so check it out. Get over there and check out our content. And don't forget to stick with us all week. You know the drill. We're going to be here back in Norman talking to players. We got basketball. We got softball. We got men's basketball, women's basketball. We got press conferences next week. Holy cow, it's going to be busy, busy, busy as we get ready to go on the road to Missouri. For Ryan Chapman, I'm John Hoover. We'll see you guys.